Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. I did this for Kawakujo. Still don't know how to say it. And I figured I would do it for this map as well. I'm doing some thoughts before bed for the new map, INFERNUS, because I've been live for just under 15 hours straight hunting. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break here. I think that there's actually a really strong chance that this Easter egg is solved like in the next hour or two. And leakers are already at boss fight, so I've been told. Don't know if that's true. I mean, if they're a boss, I'm assuming that means that they've beaten it. Don't know if that's true, like 100%, but there's people that have been in my chat saying that there are leakers at boss and stuff, so I guess that's happened again. But I certainly don't know what the steps are, and we've basically reached this sort of sticking point where we need to do something in the Vatharian temple. We don't know what it is, and it could be anything related to lightning or something, and it's just going to take loads and loads of testing to figure it out. So I think this is a good opportunity for me to make sure that my team can get some rest. Joey Conway's been working very hard. Got a whole bunch of other folks that are working behind the scenes to try and get you guys content. Equally, I've been working very hard as well. And I want to get a little bit of sleep here, man. Oh, my goodness. It's been a sort of battle to try to figure this one out. There's been a lot of sticking points, which has been quite interesting. A lot of the times in Easter eggs, it's like there's one sticking point, and then everything else just kind of flows like clockwork. Whereas here, it's felt like there's been quite a few bumpy areas, or at least in my runs. And I think that the map is kind of an unusual one, because on the one hand, I think it's a very cool Dark Ether space. And I really like some of the way that they've managed to artistically express the different Shadowsmiths. I think it's cool, but at the same time, it weirdly feels like somewhat under-realized in some ways. Like, it's cool, but it's not spectacular, I guess I would say. And for a final map, and maybe, we don't know yet, but maybe the closing of the Dark Ether story, I was potentially expecting it to be a bit more, I guess, like, glamorous, for lack of a better word, where each of the temples would feel a bit more sort of like sensationalized and hyperbolic and would really speak to the DNA of that Shadowsmith and would transform or do like crazy things that would again be like representative and reinforcing of that character. And as it stands, we've had a little bit of that with the Forge itself in the middle of the map. Like the fact that that has been able to depress into the ground, and then we've unleashed or unveiled those cogs, and then we've been able to rotate the rings around it. That's really cool. And I really love the fact that it feels like in this space in the Dark Ether, we're almost like assembling our own infernal little timepiece that we're going to use to blast the Warden to smithereens. It's cool. And it's also cool that you go underneath the PAP area and you look down into that sort of vault, and there's cages down there, and it just looks like the rings of hell. It looks like the Tower of Babel. It looks like some kind of strange, hellish thing. And I like it. I like the aesthetic. It just feels like a lot of the map is the same rocks. It's a lot of rocks. And there's not a lot of things in the space. It's, generally speaking, quite a plain map. And I think that's by design, because there wouldn't be like loads and loads of tat in the Dark Ether. But even so, it puts you in a sort of headspace of like, oh, this isn't a particularly lived-in space. And I don't mean lived in the sense of like, someone has been doing the dishes yesterday and there's environmental storytelling about that. What I mean by the lived-in thing is it doesn't really feel like I'm getting a huge amount of expression of what the space is used for, the little that it may be occupied by the warden, it just doesn't feel like it's there as much as I was expecting it to. There's certain areas of it, like there are these 3 skulls on a rock in one spot, and I'm like, oh, what's happened there? I would like to know that story. There's another spot where there's some destroyed statues, and I'm like, oh, who's the statue of? Like, there's some feet, and there's what looks like a kind of hand, but they don't really look human, so who's that? There's a worry that I have, which is a worry that I've had with a lot of the modern zombies stuff, especially Black Ops 6 and some of Black Ops 7, that it might just be yet another generic model that's been reused from something else, and actually it's a statue of nothing and no one, and the time investment into theorizing about who it would be completely wasted. That thought definitely does cross my mind, but I see a cool broken up statue, and yeah, I do think, okay, what's the environmental storytelling that they're trying to do there? I wonder. I just worry at the same time. So there's a bit of it, but I was, I think, a little hopeful for more. The house is very cool. Weirdly, the house is less nostalgic to play in than I thought it would be. Now, granted, we've had very, very little time playing in the house in the past. We've seen the house several times, but we haven't played in that space much. And so I guess it makes sense that it's not nostalgic to sort of move around it myself. It's almost more nostalgic to see other people moving around it. But yeah, I thought that was going to hit harder for me and mean more to me. And it's almost felt like it's just not the house in some ways. It's almost felt like it's just a house. Instead of me being like, oh my God, I'm there. I'm in that space. Whoa! Like, that hasn't really been there for me. The Easter egg's been interesting. There's been a lot of puzzles, more so than I expected, for sure. And some of the puzzles are really cool. I really like the river crossing puzzle for the Vatharian Temple to open up the water pool, where you know that fire is essentially your tiger, and then you've got your water and your leaf, and water and leaf can go together, but fire can't go with either of those two. And so you use a hand block to separate them all out so that the fire is never left alone with another of those two elements. And it's a really cute representation of that puzzle in-game. It's really well designed. It feels good. It's probably going to suck for speedrunners, admittedly, because you have to interact by knifing, then it has to do a thing. Then you have to interact by knifing, it has to do a thing. So I suspect that it's going to be a little bit annoying in that regard, but I just like it from a puzzle perspective. And it's also something that you really don't need a tool for. Like, you can learn the solution once, and then it still feels satisfying to know that that is the solution because you sort of get the logic of it. I think there's a risk with these puzzles sometimes that you just sort of learn a kind of piece of homework that you remember, but you don't really know why that's the answer. Whereas that puzzle has obviously got a very learnable solution from a logic perspective, as well as just by rote learning it and committing it to memory, right? So I like that puzzle a lot. The puzzle in the Caltheris room is, I guess, kind of fine. The puzzle in the Dravacar room, fine, I guess. Those pillars, I mean, it's a little weird in terms of the reasoning behind it, but there clearly is reasoning. I just haven't put my finger on exactly what it is just yet. But the rote solutions seem to be fine for that. And then Nixara, fine, I guess, as well. Yeah. I wonder if they're going to be annoying to redo. That's my only uncertainty right now, I guess, about those. But as it stands, in terms of just there being a logic puzzle, I'm always down for there to be a logic puzzle in a zombies map, in an Easter egg especially. And so that's something that I sort of applaud, I suppose. So the egg is not done after 15 hours. That's good, because I thought that this was going to be a bit shorter, because I thought that Treyarch were going to adjust this so that it would definitely not clash with COD Next, which is tomorrow. And so they would make it easier. And by making it easier, I was a little worried they might make it too easy, and then it would end up being like a 6-hour solve. Whereas we're at 15 right now, which is a really healthy time for a solve if it happens in the next 4-5 5 hours, which is kind of my guesstimation right now, then I think that that's a perfectly good time for an Easter egg hunt. I think that that's great. And I'll obviously be getting back online and getting my first completion or helping solve it if it's still unsolved once I've had a bit of rest. So first impressions are generally positive, but not blown away. I think from my first impression, Kawakujo is one of the strongest maps of Black Ops 7. I think Ashes is also really strong, I will say. I think that map has a real design goal that they achieve really well. And I think Kawakujo has that same sort of vibe to it. I know people love Totenreich, but the more I've played Totenreich, the more I've felt that Ashes and this map actually... No, sorry, not this map. And Kawakujo potentially clear it. And I think I would maybe put this map below Totenreich, but above Paradox and above Astra? Maybe? Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one a bit more. It's early days. It's day one. Let me cook. I'll see where I end up in a couple of days here. It takes a little bit of time for this stuff to settle, obviously. And also, we need to see what the end cutscene is like. We need to see how the boss fight is. We need to see if the rest of the Easter egg steps suck ass. Or they're amazing. Yeah. Lots to consider. So, those are my initial thoughts. I'm not overwhelmed with satisfaction, but nor am I disappointed. It's just kind of a map for me right now. I'm hoping that its final act hits a heavy punch and it will really be a wonderful thing to sort of be left with for the next 2 years of no zombies, which in itself is pretty terrifying. So thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed, like the video, that would be amazing. And I'll see you in my no-nonsense guide, which will probably be linked on the screen right now as soon as I make it. All right. I'll see you soon, guys. Good night.